Hi everyone, it's back to myself, Adrian, again, Indonesian diaspora in the UK, and we've got Agung.
Yes, again with me, Agung, Indonesian diaspora in Belgium. This
Yes,
time we will do this in English, just
yes.
like my just like my favorite breakfast. It's full English.
Well, we're trying to do it a little bit different this time, so it's gonna be
Yeah,
in
yeah, yeah,
English, and we don't really have a guest, right? But
yeah,
we have another S-class diaspora, which I'm going to interview this time, which is Agung.
yeah. This is a
Well,
revenge interview, huh? This
refresh
is a
interview.
revenge.
Exactly. And Agong, you've been overseas for a long time, right?
Yep, yep.
So maybe let's start from there, right? Why, when, and how did you move to Belgium?
It's a very long story actually. Uh, let's start the very beginning. From the very beginning, uh, I I well, yeah, I was born in Indonesia. I grew up in Indonesia, but since I was very young, like I don't know, 5 years old, something like that, I never feel like I belong to Indonesia. You can
Mm.
call me I'm weird or something, but that's the fact. You know, when we are, I don't know, it's also the case with you, for you, uh, when I grew up with the parents who likes to watch the Hong Kong movies.
Oh wow.
You know
Okay.
the Jet Li's, the Jackie Chan's, the Aaron Kwok, you name it. I don't know if it's the case also for you, but it's the case for me. So I really remember uh, I always say that I am Hong Kongers instead of Indonesians. It's just the fact that I feel that time I was 5 years old, around 5 years old. I feel like I look more like Hong Kongers than any Indonesians. I I kind of realize it's in very yeah, since very early. Yeah. So yeah, since then I kind of want to know more uh, living outside Indonesia. So imagine that I was like 5, 6 years old, then I already knows the concept of abroad. You know,
Mm.
it's not only like I know there is a place outside this Indonesia.
Mm.
So and and I was already very curious. I'm still curious actually because I there are still many places that I don't visit yet. So yeah, that's I think the first trigger, the foundations of Agung. And then yeah, uh, we are lucky that in 1997, uh, my parents brought me and my sister to have a holiday uh, to Europe. It's kind of a pilgrimage holiday actually. So we visit like Italy, France, like Lourdes, Rome, and some holy places, the place where like the saints like Francis of Assisi, something like that.
Right.
Uh, then that's the first time I went abroad, and really I was really amazed. Maybe I put it too mildly, the word amazed, but I was really amazed, and uh, yeah, I feel it's fascinating, and I really want to live abroad since then, and really want to live abroad. And but it's 1997. I was like just 10 years old. Yeah, it's it's just a dream actually. And yeah, I was a kind of that kind of kid that I would say I dream big and I talk shit about it. So people tend to mock me. Even people who are really in my inner circle, uh, my families, maybe my relatives. So but yeah, they mock me. It's like, you talk shit, and then yeah,
Like
I just
what? Like they laugh at, like,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
why dreaming to go
yeah.
overseas, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a dream too much, you know. It's a dream
Mhm.
too big. It's
Yeah.
they never think they probably never think that I can make it. It's just too big. I really remember yeah, you know, I said I really want to be a British. I
Mm.
was 12 years old, and
Mm.
I remember I said it in the car with my parents, with my sister. I said I want to be a British, and then they laugh at me and say, just dream it, you know. It's just they mock me, like they look down at me. So yeah, I mean, okay, but good thing is I always take every negative comment, every uh, yeah, negative comment, negative sayings uh, as a motivation. So if if you remember when we have this uh, with Franzi, he said he always just follow the what he said again. I don't remember. He just follow the life, you know, where the life bring him. And then I said, no, I plan everything since very long time, and I I kind of make small decisions little by little. I built my dreams. That's the case because I don't want to live in Indonesia since I was, yeah, very young.
Okay, that was
And
interesting,
then
right?
yeah,
So I think you're referring to the episode with Franzi, and Franzi mentioned that obviously for you it was more intentional. You had
yeah,
a vision.
yes,
If your
yes,
parents never brought you to Europe, probably you will end up in Hong Kong. But then you had
maybe
an
yes,
alternative view. Well, maybe it's a
yeah,
function of our generation as well, right? At that time, Hong Kong
yeah, yeah,
actors
yeah,
and
yeah, yeah,
movies were really really popular. But okay, so fast forward, right? You obviously you try to
yeah.
realize your vision, right? How do you end up in Belgium among other countries in Europe?
Uh, maybe I have before that. Maybe it's worth to talk also a bit of how to say that, the detour,
Okay.
maybe. So I arrived in Europe in 2012, specifically in Belgium. So I think I think if I made, or if my parents made a better decision that time, I probably will end up in Europe a bit earlier, a few
Okay.
years earlier, because uh, in the last year, it was last year or in the junior high school, I think Ivana also have the same offer, because I and Ivana, your wife, we went to the same high school.
Right.
There were there was a scholarship offer from Raffles
Okay.
school,
In
boarding school
Singapore.
in Singapore. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So yeah, you know, actually, I was not a very brilliant student. I I was, well, uh, mediocre, really
Mhm.
mediocre. Well, sometimes I made surprise, like sometimes I got the best score in the class, or even in the year. But in general, I am very mediocre, like top 10, not even sometimes. But surprisingly, when they made a kind of test internally in the school, I was the best. I was the best. So it was actually a surprise,
So you're mostly
because
mediocre, but when it matters, you're
yeah, yeah,
brilliant.
yeah, and then I don't know. I was I remember the feeling when I did the test. It was math, science meanings biology and physics, a
Right.
bit of chemistry, and
Right.
English.
Right.
I got perfect math, perfect science, and 75 or
Wow.
something, or 75 something in English, because my English was really bad.
All right.
Well, my English is still bad actually. Uh, yeah, it was the best actually that time, and the next step is I think, to meet the representative from Singapore,
Yeah.
But before that, we have to really register, and I need the signature from my parents,
Mm.
and they don't sign it. I remember the teacher of my class even call and meet my parents to persuade them to at least try, but they still don't let me do it.
Why was that?
They think I was too young.
Mm.
Well, my parents are quite possessive actually to the
Okay.
kids. Well,
Okay. So they felt
put
you were
it
not
mild.
ready to
Yeah,
make
yeah,
that
kind of like that.
overseas journey. Yeah.
Well, well, in fact, they never think I'm ready to,
Okay.
even now, maybe, I don't know. But
Okay.
but just put that aside. So yeah, it was well, it's a bad decision. I think I can predict. Well, I think if I went to Singapore that time for high school, I probably end up in, I don't know, UK, Oxford or Cambridge a bit early, maybe. We
It
never know.
could have ended some
Uh,
exploration at least to your dream, to
yeah,
your
yeah.
vision. Yeah.
I just remember since then, since that time, since I don't continue, I didn't continue the process. Uh, it was probably the worst period of my life until I arrived Belgium.
Oh, in what
It's
sense?
I was kind of lost actually.
Hmm.
I kind of lost. I like, then what is the purpose of life? I mean, imagine that I was 15 and I start asking what is the purpose of my life. I start since I was 5 that I want to live abroad, and then I got the once in a lifetime probably kind of chance, and I just blow it up, and then I kind of lost. I think during my high school I was not even mediocre anymore. I was like bottom 10 maybe.
You felt
Well,
hungry
okay.
for obviously some factors that were outside of your control, right? Eh,
Yes, yes or no. I regret that I maybe I should have
hmm.
insisted more,
Gotcha.
like forcing my parents to at least sign.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, and then fast forward, I don't even learn English. A lot of my friends, they start learning English. They're taking an extra private lessons outside the school to
Yeah.
to to learn English. I didn't.
All right.
So I was really lost actually. And then at that time I want to be a doctor, but I'm colorblind, so I cannot go to the
Like medical
medical
school.
school.
Yeah.
And then at the end, I choose IT because there
Yeah.
is some guys, wise guys, telling me that IT is the future. It will be good for your future, and blah blah blah.
Hmm.
Even and I even remember that guy knows that I want to really live out abroad, and they said, yeah, even it's globally needed. It's not only in Indonesia. So okay, let's do it then. My first year in the university was also a disaster.
Hmm.
I think my GPA not even 2.5, not even 2.5. I think 2.3. Uh, but I met one lecturer. I think you know him. Let's say his name is Mr. Trijoko Wahyono. I think
Oh,
you know
okay.
him.
Of
Yeah.
course, he's famous.
He.
Halo Patrick
Yeah.
Joko.
He's. Hello. That's our Eyang, yeah. Eyang.
Yeah.
Uh, he
One
really
of the most
inspired.
amazing
Yeah,
professors
yeah,
you could get in Venus. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And yeah, actually, there another one. I don't remember who is the name again. There's another one. Also, he Patri Joko studied in multiple countries. Yeah, I think U.S., Singapore, and also South Korea.
Oh, yeah. I only
So
know his US part because he always
yeah, yeah,
made
yeah,
like a
yeah,
lot of references and jokes about
yeah, yeah, yeah,
his,
yeah, yeah.
his tenure in the States.
I
Yeah.
think he he studied in I think Indiana, and also some research in Seoul and also in Singapore. So
Yeah,
he kind of he inspired me a lot, and I remember I kind of uh, put myself back on track. I remember the second professor, Junaidi Santoso.
I know the name.
Uh,
How,
yeah,
yeah,
probably it rings the bell. He always bring a lunch box, and we sometimes eat together at the
yeah.
cafeteria at the university. He studied in Germany.
Okay.
So these two guys actually really put me back on. Maybe they don't really realize they 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 did something on me, but they really put me back on track. So I start taking English lessons, EF. So I want to be fluent in English as soon as possible. So with EF, because they have native speaker teachers and stuff. So uh, yeah,
It's
it's
interesting, right? So what you're saying is that having inspirational role models, even though that those people probably didn't realize they were sort of like the role models, have you helped
yeah,
to put you back on track.
yeah,
And
yeah,
it
yeah,
was
yeah.
part of the detour that you mentioned, right? Was there another
Yeah, yeah,
detour that,
exactly.
yeah,
Actually, I still wanted to go to the UK. I still want to go to the UK until now, actually.
yeah,
But I know that also my parents, they are not the rich, how to say, the nine dragons of Indonesia. No, I mean, my parents, they are not very wealthy, so I need to recalculate and to rethink where should I go. And uh, actually there is also a bit of love story, maybe a bit like you. I was quite close to someone. uh, Her mother is Belgian
okay,
and her father is Chindo, Chinese Indonesian. So like her father studied in Belgium, and then and then a bit. I think he worked in Belgium as well, and then get married, uh, and then went back to Indonesia and lived there. I think until now.
okay.
So yeah, well, so okay, Belgium. Okay, yeah, I've been there when I back then in '97. But it was like only like see the atomium, and I think that's all, and we have lunch there. And so I don't really know Belgium like at all, because like it's small countries and stuff. And I know Belgium because of this family. uh, and then I start checking the university in Belgium, and I see it's very affordable. And in terms of living costs also, Belgium is kind of, for student, is kind of affordable. So yeah, since then, okay, Belgium it is. So it's kind of a detour actually. This is the longest detour in my life actually. I've been here for 13 years, and my end goal is still in UK until now actually. But yeah, it's a detour, and then I think
And before
yeah,
Belgium, actually, you stayed for a bit as well in China, right? I know.
yes, that's also a detour.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, life.
yeah,
Sometimes, yeah, okay, I understand what Francis said. Probably sometimes you just have to follow the flow. Yeah,
yeah.
go with the flow. uh yeah, I learned that if you have opportunity, you have to take it. uh my well, how to say it, actually he is my grand uncle, but he adopted my father. So because my real grandfather passed away when I was still a baby, so he actually a kind of my grandfather figure.
Mm,
And he's really Chinese.
mm,
Like he where every time, yeah, he, I think he only watched Chinese TV channel. He I don't think he watches Indonesian channel. Even then he lives in Indonesia. Uh, so he's really Chinese, and he since I was in the high school or something, he always say, "Yeah, one day you have to go to China to learn Chinese because my parents they don't speak Chinese. He speak Chinese. He and his wife is actually Chinese mainlander. So uh, every time I heard they speak
Mm.
they always speak Chinese. So they speak Chinese. So they actually want the next generation to speak Chinese, but the ways to go to China. So he kind of sponsored me to go to China, and then maybe you ask why you go to China while you have a plan to go to Belgium. This is also another love story. There are a lot of. There's another love story. I close to a girl, and then yeah, it doesn't end really well, and then I need the next escape plan actually. So actually, I refuse to go to China so many times. I say to my grandfather that well, I call him Kung Kung, but he's
Yeah.
not really my grandfather. I kind of refuse to, yeah, because I said I want to go to Belgium. I want to continue to study master and blah blah. And then since this failed love story, I need an escape plan. And he wants to sponsor me. I don't know how much he sponsors actually. Maybe only my father knows. But yeah, I went to China for a year to learn the language. I don't speak really fluently, but it's enough for daily conversations. It's enough to speak with my in-laws or make friends when I was a student here in Belgium. I met a lot of Chinese friends. That's also why I met my wife. So yeah, it's a detour, and then I'm back to the plans. Yeah, actually, when I think about going to Belgium, because I also thought it's very close to the UK.
Mm.
I was thinking, well, maybe I can just study in Belgium. Maybe there is a job in the UK. I can just, it's just across the channel, right? I mean,
Yeah.
but
There's a bullet train coming from
yeah,
Brussels to
exactly,
London. Yeah.
exactly.
Takes
But
you
yeah,
in about, I think, less than 2 hours. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, but still, I'm 13 years here. I I don't make it yet. Actually, it's still a dream to for to reach my end goal in the UK.
Right. So obviously, I think there was a bit of push and pull, right? But it's mostly the pull factor, actually, right? The vision, your own vision that you want to go overseas. But how about was there any specific push factors, things that uh, really propelled you that you wanted to go overseas?
I think I always believe uh, every pull factor has an equivalent uh, push factor.
Mm.
So it's not only it's never only pull factor.
It takes two to
So
tango. Yeah.
yes, yes, yes. If you say this pull factor is also push factor. Let's say it's about let's make one example like yeah, okay, because in Europe you earn more money. It's pull factor, but also it's push factor because in Indonesia you earn less money, right?
Right.
And if you say yeah, because in Europe the quality of life is good, it's a pull factor. It's because in Indonesia the quality of life is worse. It's a push factor,
Yeah.
you know. So uh, the yeah, okay, the push factor which is not very special. I think there are two, or these two also very related actually. When you remember when I said when I was a kid, I said I am Hong Kongers because I thought or I think I look more like the Hong Kongers and I don't look like the Indonesians. While I end up here in Belgium where I don't look like any Belgians, right?
Exactly.
So
I was gonna
it's
say that.
yeah, exactly. So it's not a pull factor. Is I think purely push factor. The thing is, but this is just a feeling. I cannot scientifically prove this. I feel like more accepted here than in Indonesia.
despite that
Uh,
you didn't speak the language. You do speak the language now, but Indonesia
uh,
you speak the language. Yeah.
well, regardless the language fluency, yeah. So it's regardless of it. When people see me, uh, let's say there is a concert or whatever, a fair or a big event where people get
Mm,
together. Uh, when I was in Indonesia and I was there, I don't feel I belong to it.
mm,
People see me differently.
mm,
People treat me differently.
mm,
Well, it's not only like one, two moments, but it's probably a cumulative moments. When I've been living there for 20 something years, but here I lived here for 13 years. Uh, I don't say everybody accepts me, but I feel more acceptable here. People don't see me really differently. Yeah, probably. Of course, there is a moment that if I go to a more rural area of Belgium where Asian people really rare, probably they see me like, oh, there is a Japanese tourist or there is a Chinese tourist in our village. But that's it. There is no. I don't feel like negativity, from the way they see me. While in Indonesia, I get it more often. So yeah, that's one maybe
I
push
guess it
factor.
also helps that Belgians also have this a little bit of laissez-faire attitude, right? They don't really
Yeah,
let live. Basically, they don't really like want to meddle or interfere
yeah,
in somebody else's
yeah, yeah, yeah,
business and
exactly.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And the second push factor, sorry, of course, the May 1998,
Mm, yes. Okay.
and the tragedy itself, it's one thing, but the the way the government treated it until now is also another factor. I always think Indonesia is a ticking time bomb, and people, well, the majority deny it is a ticking time bomb. You know, I don't I don't see that there is a feel of guilt of it.
Mm,
There is no apology for it. Unlike, for example, the German to the Jews,
mm,
which is it's comparable. Yeah, okay, the numbers is not comparable, but the act is comparable. Is systematic. It's focused on uh, certain ethnic or
mm.
race, and people dies, people suffers. So it's comparable. While the German feel sorry every say sorry every year, Indonesia after I don't know more than I don't know almost 30 years, there is no official apology. And funny thing is, the victim as the victim, they don't really fight for it. They just brush it off and move on. I cannot accept it. It's a Then they let it as a ticking time bomb and just deny that the ticking time bomb is there. I mean, May 1998 is not the first and the only time it happens in
I was gonna
Indonesia.
say that if you think of the scale, if you compare May '98 vis-a-vis the post um, Sukarno era, right? The transition period where there was mass killing. There was no revisionism or I think a lot of the people are still trying hard to find justice, right? Some
Yep.
the if they're still alive or the family members and yeah.
Yeah, but it's yeah, probably it's also because of the Chinese Indonesian. They don't really, how to say it, as a community they are not really as one. It's not
Mm,
like the Jewish in Europe
mm,
when let's say a synagogue, let's say, being burned. I think the Jewish community, the whole Europe will become one and try to to say something.
Mm.
Well, in Indonesia, with the May 1998, the Chinese community, the Chinese Indonesian community, they don't act as one.
Mm.
Some they just brush it off and move on and deny its existence. It's just try to forget it.
Yeah.
I know it's painful to remember. It's bitter, it's dark, but it's history. You cannot forget it. You can forgive if you can, but you cannot forget it. But I know even in my circle, many people just forget it. It's in the past. It's already happened.
Mm.
Just move on.
Mm.
And I'm kind of like, okay, I don't have any family member being victim like physically. Okay, there are some stores being burned or some buildings belongs to my family being burned. I mean, like big families, not my families like my parents.
Yeah, like your extended family.
But
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, but I know the people who are still seeking for justice are the ones who has this how to say it, monstrous vicious case, right? The ones that inhumane's case, I think it's really inhumane
Yeah.
if you ever read the articles.
Yeah.
And
There are some
this
documentaries, right, about
yeah
as you
yeah
said, this is not the
and
first citizens. Is there's an issue with reconciliation. Obviously, you mentioned about the push factors, right?
yeah
Um, and the pull factors. Now that you have lived in Belgium for is it 13 years, you say, right? Um,
13 years.
do you think your motivation has changed since you first came to the country?
It's not changed actually. It's just uh it's being more complex
Okay.
because you know when you are younger, when you are as when you think as a kid, the dream or your motivation is very simple, right?
Right. Yeah.
Like you want to watch football or something. It's very simple motivation, simple purpose, simple reason.
Right.
But when you get more mature, you can see life is more complicated, and and to keep your dreams you need a more complex motivations. So yeah, I think and more how to say it, more concrete motivations. Yeah, I mean like now, if you ask me my dream, of course I have more concrete, more how to say it, to the point kind of more realistic also. Yeah, the dreams
So, can you
to
take an
reach.
example? What is different in the first time you landed? So you landed as a student, right? And you
Yes,
were
yes,
you
yes.
were you were pa- you were paving your way. You
Yeah,
study here.
yeah,
You got a job
yeah.
uh, after your study, and then you make a living. You get married,
Ah,
right?
yeah, yeah,
Children. Yeah,
yeah. So it's like when I arrive, I think what I remember, I just want to stay here legally.
got you. Yeah,
Simple, right?
yeah.
Simple, right? I just want to stay here legally because I know many people stay illegally. I just want to stay here legally, meaning okay, I
Establish
got a
some kind
job.
of foothold, basically, legally.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. To just survive, actually. To just
yeah,
survive, actually. But
yeah.
when you get more mature and life goes on, you feels like you want kind of more. Actually, not really more. It's just more complex, you know. You need something more,
Mm.
like a bigger house, for example, which I just uh, I moved to a bigger house, something like that, because of course because I have bigger family now. I have 3 children. Before I don't have children, so I didn't have children. So that time, a small house, a small townhouse with 2 bedrooms, I feel it was enough. And then something like that. So it's keep going, but the end is the same. Actually, I still want to jump to the UK.
But
So
it's
yeah,
very interesting,
actually,
right? I think what you're saying is that when you move in when
yeah,
you move to Belgium, right?
yes,
It's about establishing a base. It's about if you think about the Maslow hierarchy of needs. It's about, right, it goes from the, like, the really the basics, right,
Yeah,
and you build layers on top of it bit by bit, right, to something more aspirational, as to say,
yeah,
buy
yeah,
buy a house, buy a bigger house.
yeah.
And you don't really have
And
to
yeah,
move to the UK, right? But obviously that's still in your sort of like
yeah,
back pocket, yeah,
yeah.
back of your
Exactly.
mind,
Actually,
yeah.
exactly. I don't really need to go to go to the UK. I can just stay here and live happily ever after. But life should be interesting, right?
Mm.
You have to have a goal to reach. Otherwise, what is the meaning of life, right?
Yeah.
And and that's also a thing. The more mature you are, the more things you know, experience. Like for example, a concrete example. Like I know in the UK, housing is expensive. So and in Belgium, housing is cheaper and or at least more affordable. So and now I know in Belgium it's easier to start and build for the starter or beginning phase of building wealth. But as you know, the taxation in Belgium is really harsh for the higher earner
Yeah.
or the people who has more assets. Like for example, if you have the third house, for example, it will be harshly taxed. Uh, so it's not make sense. It doesn't make sense anymore. But this is the things that I want to build first as a foundation, as a I don't know what to call it, milestone. So I
Mm.
can or stepping stone. So I can jump to the UK. So I can imagine one day probably I can just sell the house in Belgium and I can already buy something in the something decent in the UK, something like that. Instead of I have to I don't know rent or something, you know. So
Okay.
this kind of thing. So
But you bring a good segue to my next question, right? So obviously now you have the long view of living overseas, living in Belgium, right?
mhm.
Um, you mentioned a little bit about taxation, but, like, what do you think are the big pluses of living in Belgium, and what are the big minuses?
Living in compared to Indonesia or compared to UK.
Well, you can compare it to Indonesia.
Okay. I think I mentioned the feeling of the sense of belonging. Yeah? The
Yeah.
sense of belonging. I feel more belong in Belgium than in Indonesia. That's
Mm.
probably
Yeah.
a big factor. Well, the others are people already say it. You already say it. Every of our panelists say it. Living, or at least the ones in Europe, saying that quality of life is here is better. The work life balance is better. Life is more how to say it certain.
Mm.
There is a certainty. There is safety net. Better quality of healthcare. This kind of thing. Better quality of educations. I think that's the big plus points living in Belgium. But yeah, well, uh, I never say Belgium is a perfect place. There are also many problems in Belgium that probably they don't even have it in Indonesia. For example, like the 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 security problems, like the crimes we
Mm.
have. There is this. I don't think in Indonesia a police officer uh, afraid of a certain place in a city,
Like a no-go zone, basically.
like a no-go zone. For a police officer, right? It's not for normal people. But in
Yes.
Belgium, there are some no-go zone even for a an armed police officer. I mean, every police officer they have a handgun with them, yeah, and they always patrol two of them. And even then, they
Mm.
don't want to go to certain places. That's a problem that I think Belgium should solve sooner rather than later. I think it's a big problem, yeah? And as far as we know, the this zone is kind of growing, not shrinking. So yeah, as an Asian migrant here, we are the easy target for these criminals, yeah,
Mm.
robbery or anything,
Mm.
pickpocket and some this kind of thing. So yeah, it's not really safe, yeah. But yeah, good thing is after 13 years I live here, I know where is the go zone, no go zone. At
How
least I
about
know it.
how about the hardships going? Like talk about the hardships that you had to, I guess, face when you were integrating, adapting, building your life in a whole new country that does
Uh,
English, has such a complicated, like social
yeah,
structure, right?
yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
they speak three different languages, multi governments. Um, Job market
Yeah,
is amazingly complex. Yeah.
yeah. You mentioned everything already. I think the hardship. I think the very first one is the language. It's a three languages, national languages.
Right.
Uh, yeah, thank God. I just need to speak one of them, and I choose the easiest one for me to learn
Mm.
is the Dutch because we as Indonesian is it should be a lot easier actually to learn Dutch
Right.
than French or German because we borrow a lot of words from Dutch language in Indonesian language.
Due to the
We
colonial ties. Yeah.
yeah we pronounce the alphabets
The same way.
almost
Yeah.
the same way except a couple letters. Uh, but Dutch is not an easy language as well. The grammars is just like German. Yeah? It's quite complicated and
Right.
with the long words,
Mm.
it's sometimes it's troublesome.
The compound works. Yeah.
Uh, yeah. The second is you also mentioned it the job market. It's hard to penetrate as a newcomer. It's really hard, except except if you are in the IT or engineering or or in science.
So that
If
person,
you
that wise person that gave you the advice is gave you like a perfect advice because
yes,
obviously
exactly.
IT is one of the profession that is cross border, right?
Yeah. But believe it or not, the first jobs I applied here are not IT.
Gotcha. Mm.
I wanted to go to something like actuarial finance stuff,
Mm.
which I cannot get into it. And then I I was quite desperate, and I said, okay, let's do IT anyway.
Mm.
So yeah, I got it like in 3 months or so. It's like very quick and very easy. And the interview, I already imagine because I worked in Indonesia for a year before I went to China.
Mm.
Uh, I remember the recruitment process is quite rigid.
Mm.
Uh,
In
at least
Belgium,
no, in Indonesia.
Indonesia, yeah,
Yeah, there was a kind of a coding test,
gotcha.
some logic algorithm test, something like that.
Mm.
Well, here in Belgium, my first job, there is no such thing.
Mm.
I only uh, have one interview with the recruiter, which is it's a third party recruiter, and then I interview with the direct manager, with and she doesn't have IT background. She asked well my colleagues to, but his question is like very basic. It was SQL question and it's very basic and I can answer it easily and okay. When you can start? I said I can start as soon as possible and then yeah, let's meet next Monday then. You can start next Monday. Oh, let's do it.
I
It's
seconded you.
it's
I had the same experience as well. Very quick
yeah,
turnaround. Yeah, yeah.
it was. it's surprisingly very, very quick. I said I don't speak Dutch. I only speak English, and no, it's okay. Because uh, even then, it's mostly Flemish people working there, but yeah, there are some people from Wallonia as well. There are one Portuguese guy who is uh, who kind of trained me, and that's all. That's
But I
all.
think we were quite lucky as well, right? Going in the way that
Yeah,
first the job was a profession in it, right? So
yeah,
that's
yeah, yeah,
skill sets, right?
yeah,
Secondly, we were already in the country studying, so we didn't have to go
yeah,
through the
yeah,
basically the labor market test, right? There was no need to prove that um, we were in the local labor pool. We didn't have to.
yeah,
The company doesn't
yeah,
have to prove that we are not
yeah,
local. So why you need to hire in
yeah,
I mean
yeah.
someone from international countries? Yeah.
Yeah. But there was or there is still a kind of the minimum wage
Yes.
uh, for the company to sponsor an employee, and the good thing is because IT job is such a high demand, so the minimum salary is already quite high, so it's not a problem to. Yeah, it's actually pretty. Yeah, we are lucky actually. But
Yeah. I
once
guess
you are in the system,
that's a
yeah,
tips, right, for people trying to move to do Kabur aja dulu. IT is still the
yeah,
profession in demand. It doesn't
yeah, yeah,
require local certifications.
local,
Imagine if you're
yeah,
trying to be a doctor in a different country, or a
or
practicing
accountant.
lawyer, or an accountant, right?
Yeah,
Although there
yeah,
are some certifications that are cross border, but like this will still be keen to see your experience in doing
yeah,
local accounting, for example, right? Unless you do for an international accounting firm or you do some
yeah, yeah, yeah,
international legal firm, right?
yeah,
Anyway,
yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So yeah, surprisingly, after you are in the system, you are in the job market, it's a lot easier to find a job. Uh, so yeah, it's just at the beginning it's difficult. The hardship is only the beginning, and the third hardships after the language, the job market is the bureaucracy. You also mentioned because we have a lot of layers of government, so sometimes when you are already in the system, you try to buy a house, you pay tax, you want to buy a car or something like that. You sometimes, yeah, some things are you need to go to the local government, which is the city government, or you have to go to the regional government, or you have to go to the central government. So this kind of thing sometimes is quite complicated, and sometimes they yeah, because it's top political issue in Belgium is quite complicated. They also kind of uh, negate each other sometimes. That one is wrong, this one is wrong. Yeah, it's sometimes it's not always in line. These layers of government. So it's bureaucracy issue sometimes. They yeah, you need to pay more for things.
Okay.
That's I think in short is that the hardships
So despite all that, right? Obviously, you've been here 13 years and counting, right?
and counting. Yes.
Is there still a chance that you might go back to Indonesia? Short term, mid-term, or for retirement?
For retirement is a no.
Okay.
For sure no. Long term also no. The I think I never I will never say never, but the most possible way I will be back to Indonesia is only one. If there is a short assignment
Mm.
with a very significant package,
Mm.
then probably I will go.
Mm. Okay.
I don't know, like 5 years. There is a project. They doubled my salary here, and yeah, probably I will go.
Okay. So the chance is minimum, and then if you're going back as an expat, right?
Yeah,
Because
and as an
drum
expat, yes,
drum roll, you obviously no longer hold Indonesian nationality, right? You've changed your
yes,
nationality, right?
yep, yep, yep.
So why do you make the decision? Yeah.
I think it's an easy decision, eh? It's very easy decision. It's actually one of the reason I uh, move out Indonesians because I want to have other nationality. And yeah, uh, I don't. I always I felt that Indonesian passport really obstacle. It's actually a burden.
Mm.
I think you feel probably feel the same when you want to go travel or you want to go to business trip. You need to go to make the visa. Okay, some the companies for the business trip
I sure
they will
love all the
sponsor it.
paperwork. I've done it the number. I don't know, man.
So that's the thing as well. My wife is not Indonesian. Yeah,
You're right.
and
Yeah.
I have kids here. They were born here and they grew up here. I think it's not fair for them if they don't have the passport of the Belgian passport. So having Belgian passport will give them the same chance, the same opportunities as any other Belgians. And as I mentioned, my wife is not Indonesian. When I want to visit their families, I have to make visas, and it's not really convenience. Imagine if it's an urgent things.
Right.
Should we wait for 2 3 weeks until the visa is out?
Yeah.
I mean, for me now, if I have to go, like my in-laws in South Korea, if I want to go, we got the bad news in the morning. In the afternoon, we can go already. Eh? We can
Mm.
just buy ticket and go, bring our passport. But
Mm.
imagine if we don't have a Belgian passport. We have to wait 2 weeks. Then the bad news become the worst. So
Mm.